Hello. Today I thought I'd show you, as part of the making some bedding for a child's bed set, how to do a nice trimming border on the top sheet. So this is on a flat sheet for a bed, and I've already done one here, but I'm going to show you how to do another one on this lovely soft grey using some of these very delicious Woodland Friends fabrics from Adorn It. So I've got here already this foxy one. Now this foxy one was rather fun, and it's an any direction type print, where this one the pictures are definitely up one way or the other way, so that's just a little something we'll have to think about as we're doing it, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So I just thought I'd show you, this is what we're trying to achieve, so that when the sheet is on a bed and it's turned back, you've got this nice little trim across on the bed. So for that I've actually purchased sheets rather than making the sheets. You could make your own sheets, but it seemed pretty sensible to buy some when they were just handy and the right colours. And I've got these lovely fabrics. So starting with the sheet, because they're already hemmed along the sides, we need to undo a little bit so that when we put our fabric on, it can roll in as if it was always in there. So I've just unpicked maybe 6 or 8 inches of that hemming of each side near the top edge. So most sheets of these flat sheets, they've kind of got an obvious top end because there's some sort of a turn back on it. So on that end I've unpicked a little bit, opened it out and pressed it flat so that we can use it that way. And then I've cut some strips from the fabric. The size I'm making happens to be a king single. Beds vary throughout the world, so it may not mean a lot to you. And it's just a slightly larger than normal single bed. And because of the width of the sheet, I needed to have more than one strips width of fabric, so I've cut 2 fabric strips. I cut them 4.5 inches wide. I've joined them together here. I've pressed that seam open, so I've just got one really long strip, and then I've pressed in 1/2 inch or so on each of the long edges, ready for us to sew it onto the sheet. So yes, there is already this quite nice edge on the sheet, but I'm actually just going to cover it up because I wanted to have the trimming on the sheet. I've also popped a pin roughly halfway along so that I know where my centre is, so that I can start pinning from the centre out. So I'm just going to show you now how to put that on. Now I mentioned that this fabric is a one-way design. That means that all the pictures are kind of all up the same way when you look at it. So if I look at it this way, it's going to be upside down. So you might want to think about how you want that on the sheet. So when it's turned back, if you want the child to be able to see the picture the right way, you need to have it so that it's facing to the top edge of the sheet, so that, sorry, around the other way, so that when it's made up on a bed and you see it turned back, you're looking at the pictures. The probably more obvious way for the whole look of the bed and the room would be to have it so that when it's folded over on the bed, you're going to see it sitting across the way you'd probably expect to see it standing in the room. So that's what I'm going to do. You might have a different preference. So to that end, I've opened out both the ends on my sheet, like I mentioned, on the sides. I've popped my pin in the middle here. This is quite large, but I'll just show you how I go about popping this. So I'm just going to lay it over the top here, and I'm going to get it round the way I want it, which is this way, and I'm going to start putting it on here. So I've just got some pins here, and I'm going to pin it in place so that I can machine along each side. But to help me keep it nice and straight, I'm going to use my ruler. Our rulers have all these nice markings on them. So I'm going to come into the 2 inch from the edge line and lay that on top of the sheet so that the 2 inch lines up with the edge of the sheet. And then I'm going to lay this next to it. And I can move the ruler along so that I get it the same all the way along. And I'm just going to pop some pins down the middle here just to hold it in place so that when I sew it, it's not going to wobble around all over the place. So I just slide it along, again reposition the ruler so that that 2 inch line sits on the edge of the sheet, and put some more pins in. So you probably don't need to watch me pin the whole thing. I'm going to finish pinning it and then start sewing it, so I'll show you what I'm doing with that. So I've been very busy sewing, and I've already sewn along one long edge so that that's sewn down to the sheet, and I'm nearly finished on the last one, and so I can show you how to finish off the ends again. So we'll just keep doing this. So I'm quite close to the edge, probably less than 1/8 of an inch. Just a straight stitch there. So probably this is a really easy project, great for a birthday present, Christmas present, anytime present, just because. Okay, so we're at the end. So my strips were just a bit longer than the sheet, which is always a nice thing rather than too short. And so I'll just show you how to roll that back in so that it doesn't look like it's an add-on to your sheet, because of course it isn't. So because I've opened out the edge of the sheet here and I've pressed it more or less flat, I can now just trim off the sewn on strip level with that. And now I'm just going to press that back in where it used to be so that I can sew that back in place, that nice little hem edge, so the lines are probably still there. It's usually like a 1/2 inch over twice. So this is why you need to unpick a little bit further than you think you need to go, because of being able to do this sort of thing. If you come in too close, it's too hard to open it out and put it back together again. So I just press that again. And then I'm going to actually just pop a couple of pins in, because it's a little bit bulky with that extra couple of layers in it, just to hold it in place. These pins that get me. And then I'm going to go back to the sewing machine now and just stitch again along that line, so that that sheet just looks like it was always meant to be like that. So probably the hardest thing about this is managing this whole bulk of this sheet. It's quite large. But this is a fun project, easy to dress up some bedding without a huge expense involved. And looks great when you've got things like the quilt and the pillowcase and other things to go with it. Or just because. So there's that end. I've actually already done the other end. I'll just trim my threads off here. And I can show you. There's that nice little, your sheet is back to being nicely edged again. It's going to sit beautifully over as a turn back over blanket, whatever it is that you use on your bed, and have that lovely novelty trim that you can tie into all sorts of things. You can make it coordinate with whatever you like or not. So that's how to trim the sheet. Next, in the next video I'll show you how to do a pillowcase with a nice edge on it like that. But for today, that's it for the sheet. Enjoy the sheet. Thank you.